Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Okay, as we have completed our last chapter, which was the reproduction in animals. So इस reproduction animals का जो last chapter था, that was related with that of the cloning, जो मैंने पिछले जो वीडियो अपलोड किया था उस वीडियो में मैंने कंप्लीट किया. तो आज जो हम नया चैप्टर स्टार्ट करने जा रहे हैं, दैट्स अबाउट द रीचिंग द एज ऑफ एडोलसेंस. reaching the age of adolescence. Okay, actually jo chapter that this the chapter is related with that of the previous chapter. So let me finish it, and thereafter we'll study the last chapter of your biology, that is about the cell. जो remaining topics हैं उसमें मैंने पढ़ा चुका हूँ already क्लास में. जो उसके remaining topics हैं, remaining जो cell organelles हैं, that I will discuss in the in coming lectures. But we'll study today we'll go through today the chapter that's to be called as a reaching the age of adolescence. Okay, so this is a chapter that's reaching the age of adolescence. Reaching the age of adolescence. देखिए, before we'll discuss the this chapter, let me recapitulate a few things in the from the previous chapter. Like वहाँ पे हमने पढ़ा था कि रिप्रोडक्शन जो होती है, दैट्स ए नेचुरल प्रोसेस. वी नो दैट उस नेचुरल प्रोसेस में पहले फर्टिलाइजेशन होती है, और फर्टिलाइजेशन के बाद इम्प्लांटेशन होती है, उसके बाद डेवलपमेंट होती है, और डेवलपमेंट के बाद जो जिसको हम गेस्टेशन पीरियड भी कहते हैं, दैन आफ्टर दैट द पार्चुरेशन टेक प्लेस, एंड फाइनली द that is the end of the gestation period. और further when the parturition take place, और parturition के बाद वहाँ पे जो डेवलपमेंट होती है, वो डेवलपमेंट आफ्टर द पार्चुरेशन होती है. ठीक है, तो वही डेवलपमेंट में देखिए दो तरह की डेवलपमेंट्स होती है ह्यूमंस में. कि मैंने कहा रिप्रोडक्शन after being the organism is being reproduced only after a certain age, because of their reproductive system starts working. Okay, तो उनके कुछ एज के बाद उनकी रिप्रोडक्शन जो इनके रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम जो होते हैं वो स्टार्ट लर्न करते हैं, वो स्टार्ट उनकी डेवलपमेंट होती है, एंड और बॉडी के अंदर कुछ फिजियोलॉजिकल चेंज होते हैं, कुछ हार्मोनल चेंज हो जाती है. ठीक है, तो इस चैप्टर में हम ये पढ़ेंगे कि व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ हार्मोन्स, एंड द हार्मोन्स व्हिच कैन ब्रिंग अबाउट द चेंज दैट कैन मेक अ चाइल्ड टू ग्रो इन एन एडल्ट. दिस इज व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी इन दिस चैप्टर दैट्स related to that, reaching the age of adolescence. देखिए, before that I will define what do you mean by adolescence. उससे पहले मैं बताना चाहूँ कि मैंने कहा कि ग्रोथ जो स्टार्ट होती है वो स्टार्ट होती है राइट द डे द बेबी इज बॉर्न. ओके, द बेबी इज बॉर्न एंड द बेबी ग्रोज एंड बिकम्स द चाइल्ड. एज यू ऑल नो दैट, we know that a young human being below the age of full physical development is to be called as a child. When the organs are not, you know that when the full development of organs not don't have take place, so we just call it's a child. And as soon the child crosses the age of 10 to 11 years, there is a sudden or abrupt change. So I'm just telling you that when the child crosses the age of 10 to 11 years आफ्टर बर्थ, जब एक चाइल्ड की बर्थ हो जाती है तो उसके बाद उसकी डेवलपमेंट 10 to 11 years तक, और 11 years के बाद उसकी एब्रप्ट चेंज हो जाती है. दिस sudden change, I don't call it an abrupt change, sorry, it's a sudden change हो जाती है इसकी बॉडी ग्रोथ में, which becomes noticeable. Okay, so the rapid changes which takes place in the body from age onwards are the part of growing up. These changes indicate that a person is no longer a child but on the way becoming an adult. So we are calling that when a person reaches the age like that, uh, till the below the 10 it's a child, but as soon it crosses the 10 or 11, after that the child no longer is a child, because there occurs certain changes or developments that's taking place in the body. Okay, so call we don't call a person that's person is no longer a child, but it's way to becoming an adult. So we call that a mature human being who is fully grown and developed is called an adult. And I give the two definitions were child and adult. तो मैंने child कहा a young human below the age. देखिए I just called below the age, तो मैंने age ली 2 years की. I just say that it's a 10 or 11. It's not 10 to 11, but it is either from 10 or from 11 when the development takes place. Okay, when the development takes place, this development either starts from the age of 10 or it starts from the age of 11. And below the age, I mean say that below the age of 10 years or below the age of 11 years, the below the age of 11 or 10 years, a full physical development is called when the there is not full physical development of the child, of the person. We just called we just called it as child. So we call a young human being below the age, I mean say that below this age 10 to 11 years of physical development, it is to be called as a child. So below this age we called it a child. But as a mature human being crosses the age of 10 or 11 years, okay, then a mature human being who is fully grown, after he crosses the age, okay, he crossed the age of 11 and 12, जब वो age cross कर देता है 10 और 11 की, then we can say that he is fully grown and developed is called an adult. अब वो fully grown है और developed है तो उसे हम adult कहते हैं. We just called an adult. So below this age, we called as below this age. Below this age is a child. After this age is an adult. So below the underdeveloped or below the development or development, we just called the development below this age. Then he is a child. Above the development of this age, we called it's an adult. Now got this. Now I must say that you have got my point. Now then, what's an adolescence? Then adolescence is, we call that there is a life of a human beings when a person is neither a child nor an adult. तो एक पीरियड आ जाता है, एक ट्रांजिशन पीरियड आ जाता है ह्यूमन बींग्स में, जब एक पर्सन ना एक चाइल्ड रहता है ना एक एडल्ट रहता है. neither a person is a child nor a person is an adult. So we call the transition period of physical and mental development. So what I am going to tell you, that is the transition period. We just called it also the transitional period, rather a transitional period of physical and mental development. Okay, the transitional period of physical and mental development which occurs between the childhood. So between the childhood, like this, between the childhood and adulthood. So you just called a transition time period between the childhood and between the adulthood. Between the childhood and the adulthood is to be called as adolescence. Is to be called as adolescence. So like this, I write over here the definition of the same. Like, there's a transitional period of a physical and mental development. So transitional period of physical, it's a physical development, and you must know what's a physical development. Physical development means that a development in organs like height, like you just say that muscles became strong and tough in case of boys, deposition of fat in case of thighs, appearance of the pubic and axillary hair in case of both males and females. Okay, like these are the physical changes that take place in the human body. So mental development is this, the development of mental faculties, the development of mental horizon, so that's to be called as a mental development. So we just call that there's a transition period between the physical and mental development which occurs between the childhood and the adulthood, that's called adolescence. That's the age of adolescence, or we just called as adolescence. तो हम ये कहेंगे हम ये कहेंगे कि the transition period, the period that is between that of the adulthood and between that of the childhood, where the physical and mental development takes place, that is to be called as adolescence. Or you also call that the adolescence is time when a lot of changes take place in the bodies of boys and girls, which makes their reproductive system mature. Okay, yeah, we just, because it is because of the hormonal changes. These hormonal changes, these hormones bring the different physiological, bring the different physical and mental changes in an organism, or the in a body of humans, in a body of males and females, as these bodies these changes, which is sudden, and also the reproductive systems of the humans, reproductive system of males and females, of boys and girls, they also start becoming mature. And what about the maturity of the reproductive systems, that they are now enough mature that they can bear the child. Their reproductive systems will now start the producing gametes, that is also to be called as gametogenesis, as you have studied in the previous classes. Also, not only this, but their reproductive systems also will start producing hormones, and these hormones bring the secondary sexual characters in case of human males and females. What is the adolescence age is all about. So we what I was telling you, that this adolescence is a time when the lot of change takes place. I mean, say that lot of change takes place in the bodies of boys and girls. Okay, when their reproductive systems become mature, as I just mentioned, I was mentioning it, and reproductive systems, as their reproductive systems become mature, they will start producing gametes. Their reproductive system जो होंगे उनके, वो gametes produce करना start करेंगे. Gametes ही नहीं, बट के इनके reproductive systems जो होंगे ना, वो also produce करेंगे. They will also start producing the hormones. And now we just say that the हम ऐसे भी इसको define कर सकते हैं कि the period of life of a person, the period of life of a person when the body undergoes a lot of changes leading to the reproductive maturity is called adolescence. आप ये भी define कर सकते हो, the period of life, okay, when the body undergoes lot of changes. Lot of changes means that there is a physical development, there is a mental development. Even though not only this, when you just goes outside of this, when you define out, when you just go out the outside the two parameters, that is physical and mental development, there is also the social development. Okay, वहाँ पे social development भी होती है और different changes होती है in the age of adolescence, जो मैं इन upcoming lectures में बताऊंगा. what are the different changes like physical, mental and social developments जो एक humans में होती है. और मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि what I am going to tell you, then when a body undergoes a lot of changes leading to the reproductive maturity is called adolescence. तो यहाँ पे बात है सिर्फ reproductive maturity की. मैं यहाँ पे बात करता हूँ reproductive maturity की. When the reproductive organs become mature, when their bodies are enough mature, then they can bear children now. Okay, when their bodies are enough mature, that they can produce the hormones now. This is called reproductive maturity. Okay, now also वी कैन से दैट व्हाट इज एन एडोलसेंस। तो एडोलसेंस वही हुआ ना जिसमें एडोलसेंस आई है। एडोलसेंस वही हुआ ना जिसमें ना रिप्रोडक्टिव मैच्योरिटी आई है, जिसके मतलब जो रिप्रोडक्टिव ऑर्गन्स है वो अब गेमेट्स प्रोड्यूस शुरू करेंगे। गेमेट्स उनके रिप्रोडक्टिव ऑर्गन्स के अंदर जो हार्मोन्स बनना शुरू हो जाएंगे, तो उसे हम एडोलसेंस कहेंगे। तो व्हाट्स एन एडोलसेंस नाउ? A person who is in the process of growing from child to an adult is called adolescence. So who is to be called as adolescent? A person who is in the process of growing from child to an adult is called an adolescence. A person who is in the stage of growing, a person who is in the stage of maturity, a person who is in the stage of development, a person whose organs are developing, then we just call that the person is to be called as adolescence. उस person को हम adolescence कहेंगे, ठीक है? उस person को हम adolescent कहेंगे. We just call the person as adolescent persons. उसको हम adolescent persons कहेंगे. Like some of the changes that take place in case of boys, as I mean say that like अभी मैंने कहा कुछ physical changes है, like facial body growth है, voice deepness है, उनके testes जो होते हैं वो start produce करते हैं गेमेट्स, जो मैं अपकमिंग लेक्चर्स में बताऊंगा। और फीमेल्स में भी कुछ चेंज होती है, जैसे इनकी ओवरी जो होती हैं वो स्टार्ट करती है ओवा प्रोड्यूस करना और उनका वो they will start having their monthly periods which are to be called as menstrual cycle. And adolescence usually begins at the age of 10 और 11, जो मैंने पहले भी बताया कि उनकी एडोलसेंस की जो एज है वो स्टार्ट हो जाती है कहाँ से? वो स्टार्ट हो जाती है 10 to 11 ईयर्स के, मतलब 10 to 11 ईयर्स से स्टार्ट हो जाती है और लास्ट रह जाती है कहाँ तक? वो लास्ट रह जाती है 18 to 19 ईयर्स तक। सो हम बताते हैं कि एडोलसेंस एज यूजुअली बिगिंस अराउंड 10 to 11 years and lasts up to 18 to 19 years. Though this period, however, varies from person to person. This is not a fixed, right? In every person it will start from 10 to 11 and will last at 11 to 18 to 19. No, it's varying from person to person. Okay, so it may begin a year or two early than in boys, or somewhat. Then we call that a person who is in the process of growing from a child to adult is called adolescent. जो अभी मैंने आपको बताया, यहाँ उसे आप टीनएजर भी कह सकते हैं। तो ये रहा adolescence। और adolescence होती क्या है और what is an adolescent and what do you mean by adolescence? तो इन कमिंग लेक्चर्स में मैं जो बात करता हूँ कि adolescence मैंने बताया, जैसे adolescence is the age time between the childhood and the adulthood। लेकिन अब जो बात करेंगे कमिंग लेक्चर्स में वो बात करेंगे प्यूबर्टी पे। ओके, वो बात करेंगे प्यूबर्टी पे। व्हाट्स प्यूबर्टी ऑल अबाउट? प्यूबर्टी क्या होती है? देखिए, puberty is a time when adolescents become sexually mature. And what's an adolescence? Adolescence is a time period, a time between childhood and adulthood. देखिए, childhood adulthood के दौरान जो time period होगा ना उसे हम adolescence कहते हैं। लेकिन what is mature? What is the puberty then? Puberty is a time when the adolescents become sexually mature. जब adolescent sexually mature हो जाएगा ना, तब उस एज को कहते हैं एज ऑफ प्यूबर्टी। और एडोलसेंस क्या एज होती है? बिटवीन चाइल्ड एंड एडल्टहुड। बिटवीन चाइल्ड एंड एडल्टहुड जो एज होती है उसे एज ऑफ एडोलसेंस कहते हैं। और एडोलसेंस में ही जब एक ह्यूमन बीइंग, जब एक मेल या फीमेल मैच्योर हो जाएगा, सेक्सुअली मैच्योर हो जाएगा, तो उसे हम एज ऑफ प्यूबर्टी कहते हैं। सो हमारा जो कमिंग लेक्चर रहेगा, हमारा जो कमिंग वीडियो में अपलोड करूंगा, जो कमिंग लेक्चर मेरा रहेगा, दैट विल बी ऑन द puberty. What is puberty and what are various changes that are taking place at the age, in a puberty age? What are the different physical changes? I mean say that what are different physical changes that are taking place in both males and females? And you know that these physical changes are due to the hormones like of testosterone, like a progesterone, these type of hormones that bring. So this is all for today. सो कमिंग जो लेक्चर मेरा रहेगा वो रहेगा प्यूबर्टी पे, व्हाट्स प्यूबर्टी ऑल अबाउट, प्यूबर्टी होती क्या है, ठीक है। तो आज जो हमने इस लेक्चर में पढ़ा, जो मेरा आज का लेक्चर था, जो मेरा आज का टॉपिक था, दैट वाज ऑल अबाउट द एडोलसेंस, व्हाट एडोलसेंस इज। होप आपने अंडरस्टैंड किया होगा व्हाट इज एडोलसेंस। तो एडोलसेंस एंड व्हाट आर द एडोलसेंस आती किस है, और एडोलसेंस और प्यूबर्टी में फ़र्क क्या है, और एडोलसेंस में कौन कौन सी चेंज हो जाती है। होप ये मेरा जो इट वाज जस्ट एन इंट्रोडक्शन to the topic, like what adolescence is all about. In coming lecture we'll start the what's puberty. Okay, thank you.